Hello, this show is sponsored by PowerfulWomenUSA.com. Hey everybody, I'm Jill Conway, and this is Secrets of Powerful Women, a show dedicated to celebrating strong and powerful women sharing their stories. And I'm hoping you will be inspired and feel empowered and discover your own power. So ladies, it is time to take a seat at the table, and sitting across from me at the table is Gina Keely, founder of the Paige Keely Foundation. And she is an incredible woman with a powerful and moving story. And I think it needs to be shared. And I hope that when you listen, if you're going through something tough, you can find some inspiration. So welcome in, Gina.
Hi, Jill. Thank you so much. I'm super thrilled to be here.
Oh, me too. So I want to tell you that Gina has inspired this entire show for me. And we'll go on to that story another time. But I had her on my previous show, and we had a conversation that kind of made this show into fruition, really. Okay, but let's talk about, Gina, tell me tell me, you're head of the foundation and what the foundation is and how did you form it? What happened to you?
So I did found the foundation in honor of my daughter, Paige. I lost Paige in 2018. She was only 6 years old, and I lost her to an unknown, undetected brain AVM. She was a perfectly healthy child, met every milestone. There was absolutely nothing wrong with her, and she went off to school with my other two children, and I got a phone call from the school nurse saying that Paige was in with a really bad headache and she was crying.
This was early in the morning, and you said kindergarten, was she?
She was in first grade.
Okay.
And it was at lunchtime, but it was early. She had an early lunch. And they told me that, a lunch buddy walked her down because she was so upset. And within minutes, I got a call back. I was already on my way up to school, and I only live a few minutes from the elementary school. And she called me back and said that Paige is unresponsive, and we called an ambulance. Where are you? And, I'm thinking she's got the flu. Like, what? This is strange, Trying not to get myself alarmed. And I walked into the school, and basically everybody looked at me as if they had already seen a ghost. And I immediately got that feeling that something was really bad. I walked into the nurse's office, and Paige was completely unresponsive. She was seizing. There was no eye contact. There was nothing. It felt like it took forever for first responders to come in and to evaluate her, to get her moving. They were asking me a lot of questions, prior to it. Does she have a history of so-and-so and this and that? And there, no history. I remember them struggling to get her blood pressure. And before we knew it, we were off to the ambulance. She seized the whole way. And I was trying to be very calm and not let her see that I was upset and feel my energy. I, kept thinking in my head, this is just a really freak thing that's happening, and we're going to go to the hospital and they're going to fix this.
Right, like maybe she's having seizures or something like that.
Maybe, we could fix this. And I was calling my husband en route, and I don't know how he made it from Melville to Stony Brook at the same time as I did. So where St. James is and where Stony Brook. And we arrived at the hospital, and they were on top of her, paddling her. I didn't even realize that she was going right in front of my face until we got in. It was all hands on deck, and they were doing everything, paddling her, code blue. We're like, what is happening? Fix her. Like, what is this? It was an outer body experience. I literally did have an outer body experience. I think you have no control, and she was dying right in front of my eyes. And they got her stable enough to get her in for a brain scan and saw that she had a bleed, and they attempted to operate, and it was unsuccessful. She was too far gone. They said that the rupture had where it was, and it happened so fast. She had so much blood on the brain. She was, they said to me, she was likely brain dead by the time that you saw her in elementary school. And, I prayed that wasn't the case. And then, you make things up in your head. I thought that I saw her moving. I was like, this isn't happening. This isn't happening. And they put you in that room, and, the things that came out of my mouth to the nicest people in the world, I was screaming at them, like, what are you putting me in this room? I know what this room is.
Sure.
And I hear the codes going off, and, then they send in a nun or whoever it was, and she's trying to talk to me, and I just lost it. And I was, get the hell out of here. Don't touch your phone. Why are you looking at your phone? I knew that in my gut, I felt something. And it happened really fast. It was in under 3 hours, I think. And
from start to finish.
From start to finish, yeah.
And was she ever conscious enough that she saw you? No,
never. I don't even know if she heard me. There was
heard you.
no movement other than seizing. And the team came in, and they were crying, and I know it was hard for them to even say it. And they were wonderful, and I just grabbed their hands and just begged. And they said that if it wasn't such a young child, we probably wouldn't have operated. They were like, I know that they knew that she was gone. So, our world was just turned upside down.
And you had no idea. See, that's the thing. Sometimes, whenever a child dies or someone in your family, it's heartbreaking, complete devastation.
Oh, right? It's the worst thing ever. It's your nightmare when you give birth.
Well, that's what you went through the worst nightmare a parent can ever go through.
Yeah.
Right?
And it never stops. You don't wake up from it. It changes over time, and it changes the whole dynamic of who you are and your family, everything. It's unexplainable.
How did you get up the next day? How do you get up from that and just live your life? You know what I mean? Or take the first breath and want to get out of bed. Were you able to?
I didn't want to. I really I flailed around her room, and I just found myself sniffing her pillow and laying in her bed and looking at her toys, and I was obsessed with her hospital bag, looking at each piece of clothing. And they send you home with like everything. Wires were still in there, and I just kept looking like, did I miss something? Did somebody touch something? Something's out of place. And then I was dreading seeing my other two children and explaining it. I couldn't even wrap my own head around it. And my husband and I we could barely even form a sentence.
And they were still in school, not knowing any of this? They
were in school. They knew that something had happened because basically every teacher was there. Looking like, what the hell is happening here? And my girlfriend at the time, I called her immediately, and I said, I need you to, just keep an eye on Maeve and Ronan. I think you're going to have to take them home, or I'm going to call you, just stay on standby. Don't go anywhere. And she picked them up, and she took them back to her house. She came with me to the hospital. So she witnessed almost everything as well. And then she went back to my other two kids, and all the kids were there and making cards for Paige. Meanwhile, they knew, the parents already knew that Paige was gone. And yeah, and then my house was just, I only had like my closest friends and my family over the immediate few days. I didn't want to think of anything. I didn't want to do anything. I still don't. A lot of days I sleep a lot when I get depressed. I do all the things that somebody does when they're really sad and heartbroken, but I think I have a very good poker face. I'm not a good liar, but I can put on a poker face when I have to. And now I'm here. I'm looking to make change because I talk to too many people that are in my shoes that have survived and the ones that haven't. And I guess what also drove me is the doctors. I said, of course, how didn't I know? What are you talking about? Like, is this possible? And, could I have known? And they said, well, you could have known if there were signs and symptoms. This is very treatable. And I'm like, but they don't show signs or symptoms. This is usually, it's called a ticking time bomb. Very rarely do they have signs or symptoms.
So how are you supposed to
How are you
this
supposed
out?
to know? Right.
And she was 6 years old, right?
She was 6.
And I often follow you, and you're constantly posting all these younger kids that have it.
Oh, it's terrible.
That didn't know, and their parents didn't know. So this happened to you, and obviously, like you said, your world completely changed forever. So how did you get to the point, or how long did it take you to the point that you said, like, I have to stop this. Like, I have to do what I can to prevent anyone from going through what I went through.
One of my girlfriends, my very best friend, she took me out to lunch. I think it was around my birthday. She's like, oh, just, meet me, we'll have a drink and lunch or whatever. And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, you got to do something, Gina. She's like, I know that you can make change, about this. And she handed me some paperwork for a foundation. She's like, start a foundation. I'm telling you, it's going to be really good for you. You got this. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Right.
And then COVID hit, and I had nothing to do but sit at home with everybody and just fester in my sadness and watching my kids, be surrounded by COVID. And I started to research, how to start a foundation and how to get your name out there. And then I turned into networking with people through Instagram and Facebook from all over the world. And we all shared the same freaking story. And I'm like, this is bullshit. We got to rally. We got to make change. And I connected with some really great people. One of them was Todd Crawford. Remember?
Oh, sure. From
his wife.
It was on Channel 7, and she was a reporter. Yeah, Lisa Calarossi, and
she had a brain aneurysm,
right,
and passed away. And I remember in the very beginning stages, he had seen some of my clips and stuff, and I was really trying to get out there. And I remember we spoke on the phone briefly, and he just said, don't burn yourself out, Gina. It's hard. It's hard work, and
because he has a foundation as well, I believe, in her honor.
Yeah,
too. Yeah.
And he was right. It does consume you. And
but you almost, is it true? Like maybe you're looking for that too, just to fill up space, so you have something to do, somewhere to focus your energy on. Possibly.
I definitely, it helps me focus my energy, but knowing that change can be made and change should be made. And it's right at our fingertips. It's just how much can I advocate, without spinning my wheels and getting so upset and how do people do this? How do you get these research projects going? How do you get recognition? Who's going to fund this? Where the hell does all this money come from?
Right.
So, I'm out there selling myself and my story, and it got recognized. I'm now at the point where we're not $1 million foundation. We were a couple $100,000 in almost 5 years, and I'm now partnered with Stony Brook. We have a research study going on with Dr. Mafakin, Dr. Michael, and Dr. Michael Egner, and we're doing AVM research, very specific things to gain quantitative data. How many patients come in the hospital with a brain AVM? How many leave? How many don't survive? What did the death certificate say? Everything with funding for these diseases is based on quantitative data. Something like this, they say it's so rare, but that saying it's only rare when it happens to you. But it's not the case. From my conversations with people from all over, I started talking to them, and I said, did you ever look at your child or your loved one's death certificate, what does it say? Because Paige's doesn't say a brain AVM. It says a cranial hemorrhage. And I'm like, well, that's strange, because that's not what did it. Like, it was specifically an arteriovenous malformation that killed her. Caused her brain to bleed, caused her to go into cardiac arrest. So that led me to talking to other people, and they're like, yeah, mine says cardiac arrest. Mine says this, mine says that. And if it's not put in there properly, then where do the numbers come from?
Right.
You know, where's the quantitative data?
And it's rare, right? Because it's probably
rare.
not as rare as we were told.
You know, if it was as rare as people think, you know, the team that I'm working with and the doctors that I have worked with in the past wouldn't be so willing to do something. But it takes manpower, and you know, they're surgeons, they're doctors, you know, there's only so much that they can do. But having this research program and this fellowship, it's really, I'm hoping to just break barriers, make change. We should be talking about this in the pediatrician's office, because it develops in utero.
So it exists. So how do people find it? Like, should what do you think? Do you think kids' brains, you know, should be scanned at whatever age?
Yeah, I mean, but it all depends on the child. I mean, let's be realistic. You know, my kids, they're just, I don't know, they're super chill. It did not bother them. We did an MRA on each of them, which is, it's magnetic imaging, so there's no radiation. But, you know, the machine itself is loud. It's open on both ends. You just got to sit still. And to get a little kid, you know, what's the chances, you know, but my kids like music, so they just sat in there, and they were only 7 and 8. And they got a clean bill of health. I felt good about it. But, you know, we have 1-month-olds. We have 7-month-olds, you know, that are dying. I just got a message yesterday, it was, I think, on Instagram, of a 7-month-old in Pennsylvania, and out of nowhere. And the parents are lost. And it's like, I just want to find them and say, we could have known, you know. You don't want to rub it in, you know, but... well,
it's not your fault. We don't know,
no,
right?
It's not.
And that's kind of like the worst thing you can hear is, right, we could have prevented it.
Right.
Well, so, how?
And now that we know that we can, the doctors that we're working with in the research eventually I want to extend the research with getting numbers and quantitative data. I want to actually have people come in and go back to... I used to do screenings when I was with the Stroke and Brain Aneurysm Center, and that was amazing. But it was time, you know. They're in the operating room. They're donating and giving me time, and I was beyond grateful. And it's getting insurance companies to cover these scans. So I would like to get funding for... There's other ways that you can detect blood flow within the body that are less invasive, a lot easier, but it's an expensive tool, and I'm looking to do a study to get a big pool of candidates. Let's just scan, I don't know, 1,000 people, 100 people,
and see what happens.
500 people,
right?
And see what happens. You know, you fill out a questionnaire, do a little scan, which does not hurt. This type of device, you can actually just sit there, and it can detect your blood flow if something's off somewhere.
Wow.
And then there's a genetic piece as well. There's a very rare bleeding disorder called HHT, which is hereditary hemangiomic telangiectasia.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a mouthful, and I'm probably still saying it wrong. So there's that gene sequence. If it's in your family somewhere, it pops around. Either it presents itself with where you have nosebleeds. You can have a variety of things. Little telangiectasias on your face, which are like little blood clots. They look like, but they're teeny tiny. It could be multiple things, anemia, but that's not to scare you. That's, these are extreme.
Right.
And you'd have to get tested for it. But if somebody in your family turns out positive for that, you'll know that going forward, somebody is going to develop an AVM. So another part of what I'm doing to advocate for change and awareness and hopefully prevent deaths is adding a sequence to the newborn screening panel in the state of New York.
That's great.
I don't know if you're familiar with how that works. It's really interesting.
Well, we'll talk about it when we come back in the next half. But a powerful, powerful woman here and a powerful story. We'll be back with Gina after this commercial break. You're listening to Secrets of Powerful Women. The show is sponsored by PowerfulWomenUSA.com. Head to our website, join our newsletter and our community. You're listening to Secrets of Powerful Women, sponsored by PowerfulWomenUSA.com, a community of strong women who want to inspire and empower other women. So please join us. So Gina Keely is back with us now of the Paige Keely Foundation, and we were just talking about the genetic panel and what you're doing. So quickly, for anyone who doesn't know, what is the genetic panel? You said when every child in New York is born, what happens?
When every child in New York is born, there is a newborn screening panel that's done, checks for a variety of diseases that, could be running in your family's DNA. And I would like to add a genetic panel for this bleeding disorder, HHT. And it's a large sequence of different types of bleeding disorders. But it will put you on alert that if your child is a carrier, somewhere they or their children can develop an AVM, could be an aneurysm, but it just puts you on a radar, so you're aware that it's there.
So you can get checked, you can monitor.
You can, you'd have to be scanned, to make sure that you're clear. Like going forward, my children, their children's kids, for the rest of our lives, they'll have to be tested for both of these, for AVMs and these bleeding disorders.
And now you said you're working with Stony Brook. They're doing their own study. And what have you heard from, like you were just saying? So we talk in the break, but you were going around because you run a foundation. You have a big gala coming up. So of course, if you'd like to support that, your website, Paige Elizabeth Keely Foundation.com?
It's the PaigeKeelyFoundation.com. And we're looking for sponsors. We're looking for people to join us, hear what we're about. And
what happened? You went to four places of business, and what
yesterday,
happened?
Yep, 4 places looking, getting donations for the gala. And the third one that I went to, the gentleman stopped me and said, "I know what AVMs are." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And he lost a childhood friend to it. And that was 1 in 4 stores that I went to yesterday. The other 3 just knew me from, the neighborhood. And he was affected by it.
So it's not that rare.
It's really not.
It's just unresearched.
It's not researched. And you know what? What I do, it sucks. I enjoy it, but I don't enjoy it for those reasons. I'll enjoy it for the change and when I get to save the first life. And that first person's like, holy shit, I'm here.
Yeah. I remember when I had you on the old, the Mike and Jill show previously, and you said, and I thought it was so profound, and you said at some point when you were able to smile again and be able to go out or something, that people looked at you like you feel like you were being judged, I think at some point.
Yeah, I still feel it.
So I was going to say, so for women or anyone who's experienced a loss and kind of knows that feeling, because it was very public, you were on the news, your story was all over the place. So, and then time goes by and you have to pick yourself up and, put on one leg at a time, your pants and your clothes, and try to start living. And then to get a judgment from people, and that's just so horrible when you think about it. It's just so.
And I think a lot of it, sometimes I'll just put it on myself, and sometimes I feel guilty when I go out and I have a really good time. There's a big amp up for my husband and I to get out the door. We could be hanging out with our closest of friends, knowing we're going to have the best night of our lives, and then we're like, should we go? I don't want to go. I don't want to, we second guess everything. And I'm like, I'm not feeling it. I can't do it. But then when we get out there, we're like, all right, we did it. We feel good. And then, we go home. It's Groundhog Day every day. But we do laugh. We try to.
But you're so hard because I feel like some people think she shouldn't be out having a good time, or something like that. Like, it's such a bizarre world where people would think that.
Yeah, you're always the elephant in the room, no matter what.
Sure.
People look at you different. They're going to talk to you different. They're going to treat you different. The things that I say.
Well, this is an interesting question I just thought of. What would you recommend someone say to you when they meet you at a party, let's say? Because I feel like so many people don't know what to say. So they don't say anything. They'll ignore you.
Which is totally cool. Like, right? Totally cool. Just have a drink.
Right. Cheers. Or what would you think, say is the best thing to say to you? Or is there a nice way to bring it up or say it?
Yeah. I think what you're doing is great. Any way I can support you, I can. I don't like it when people say, God was ready for her. I'm like, what? No. Like, don't say that.
Right. Right.
But if they feel that they have to, fine, you have to. Some people are like that, but that's the one that gets me. God needed her. He did? Why?
Right. Right.
He did? To put me in hell? I'm going to say no.
Have you questioned your faith because of the loss?
Yeah. Hardcore. I didn't let my daughter make her communion. She was to make her communion.
You have two other kids?
Actually, my son. It was his communion coming up. Yeah.
Yeah, you have two other kids.
And we stopped religion completely.
Understandably so. I mean,
there's faith. There's definite, something. My kids now go to Catholic school, and they learn about Catholicism, and they learn, theology, and they enjoy it as, but they don't look at it in that light, prayers and this and that. You could pray to whatever you want, believe in whatever you want.
You can still get mad, though. You can still get mad.
Yeah. For a long time, there was no crosses allowed in my house. And I didn't like some of the things that the church said at Paige's service. They were very demanding of certain things that you can and can't have. That really pissed me off.
Too many rules.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother conversation, yeah.
So
I know, because I think about the women and the men who are listening who have been through a terrible loss. And so I think telling your story really can resonate with someone who say, God, I've been through the same thing, and I thought, no one else went through it, right? But so when you suffer such an emotional blow like that and your life completely changed, what toll? It had to have a big toll on your marriage, on your relationship, and that's hard sometimes. Some marriages don't last, and yours...
Most don't.
Yeah.
I forgot the percentages, but, then again, who knows about these numbers?
Right.
Right, I'm entering my almost 50, and I would say half of my friends are divorcing already.
Yeah.
So, but you put this into a marriage, most don't survive.
Right.
Not gonna lie, it changes everything. You're both so sad and so broken. You still love each other most of the time, which we do. But it feels like a different kind of love. Sure. It feels like we're just guarding our other two children for normalcy. I am not a helicopter mom. I'm not at all. But when it comes to rocking the boat and screwing things up in my house, I can't let anything happen. I don't want to rock their boat. I don't want to rock their world anymore.
Has it changed the way you parent?
Totally.
It has to, right?
They're always going to be known as Paige's sister. They'll always be Paige's sister or brother. They now go to a new school. They have new friends, and they come over and they'll see pictures of 3 kids, or they'll be like, Maeve, your hair was straight? And she's like, no, that's my sister. Oh, you have a sister? And it'll turn into something else. So there's always that. And that'll be there with them forever. I lost my brother, and I still feel like an elephant in the room over his loss. Mm-hmm. I'll always be Christian's sister. And, oh, you have 2 brothers? It's also what do you say? I have 3 children. Right. Oh, well, I have 2, but I had 3. Like when that comes up.
Right, that's hard.
And that's something that every woman, how many kids do you have? Really? Sure. Did you have a C-section? I have had 3, And then it's like, oh God. And then their face, like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And it's almost like you feel bad for them.
Making them feel
right. Like, well, I just asked you, do you have kids?
Right.
Yeah. So
is there light? There's light at the end of the tunnel for people who have experienced a loss like yours.
There is. You know what? In a marriage, I think if you love each other, you really, really love each other, you're going to stay together. You're going to fight. You might kill each other. But if you love each other, you're going to do it. Honestly, you can fall out of love with them. I get it, how they separate. You go on different paths.
Well, because you're both grieving differently, and then I would think you can't be there for the other person when you're in such a dark place yourself, right?
Yeah, and I think that happens a lot. Yeah. And you don't know what the other person's emotions are. It's a really strange thing to describe, really strange, but it takes a lot of work. Yeah. It takes a lot of work.
But you did it. I mean, and you're doing it. Yeah. So you're still married.
We're still married. Yeah. We're now 6 years in from losing Paige, and it feels like yesterday. And we just had our 22nd anniversary.
Wow.
I hope to have many, many more.
Congratulations. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, you've been through, that's something to go through a lot. Like you said, I have a lot of friends who have been through a divorce, and they were never through a devastation like you were, so that you were able to hold on. Yeah. I don't know if, I'm sure it wasn't good in that phase, you know what I mean? But you were able to hold on.
Yeah. It's work. It's a lot of work.
Well, that's another show, too, because marriage is a lot of work. For anyone who hasn't been married, for them to say, they think marriage is bliss. And it's a lot of work.
Yes.
It's a lot of work.
And anybody says that it's not work, then I don't know what they're talking about.
Well, maybe who knows, right?
They're in fantasy land. They're in the la-la days.
Yeah, well, because I think there are a lot of people, right, who really think a relationship is going to make their whole life better, right?
Well, you change. You change as you get older.
Yeah.
You look at things differently, whether it be from your career, from just life itself. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that person wasn't for you. Sometimes you're better off without them. Move on.
Yeah. So what do you think, and I want to ask this for moving forward for every show, but what do you think is your secret power to keep going? What is it about you and your soul, your personality that you're able to say, I'm not just staying in this deep, dark place?
I keep Paige's fire inside of me, and
clearly you have some too, Gina.
Thank you.
Clearly you do.
Her little bit of flame, or her lot of flame, it just runs through me. I live my life a lot freer. I think a lot less of nonsense, and I cannot wait until I have saved that first life. And once we have got to that point, I'm going to pass the baton and happily retire. But that's my goal. I set it out. I just want to find that one person that had no idea and shed light on them. Maybe if they don't want their name told, be like, I did it. I told you. This is how you're going to do it. And I want to stay strong for my kids. I don't want them to see a mom that's falling apart. You know what? I understand how people do drugs and they become drug addicts and they just fall off the edge because you want to be numb. And I would never do that to them. None of those things, but I get it. Yeah. And I don't fault the ones that fall off. You can't, because every day is a struggle. But I made a choice to be a mother, and I'm going to be the best one possible.
So what now? What's the future holds? Like, what do you want to accomplish for the next, let's say, 5 years? We'll make it a little bit.
I want to get this foundation up and running so that it's a household name. We do not have a celebrity face, though there are a couple, and there are a couple that I've been in contact with who have also been survivors.
Wow.
One that's very supportive of us. I'm not going to say his name, but he's a country singer, and he's incredible.
Wow.
But I want it to be a household name, in a weird way of saying it. I want the screening and the scanning to be made available to people. Just like we do for sunscreen and skin cancers. We never put sunblock on as a teenager.
Yeah.
We walked out the door with baby oil.
Yep.
Parents never even
sat
cared.
out in the backyard with tinfoil.
Frying. Yeah. And now we're like, oh my God, you can go outside to cover your ears, cover your head. Oh my God, he's got sunburn.
So true.
Yeah.
So true.
When my mother still says, oh, sunburn looks good on you. I'm like, what?
We were never in a car with a seatbelt either.
Never.
Back in the day.
Oh my God. I was in the car with my mom and dad smoking with the windows up. It was disgusting. So yeah, I just need it to be out there and aware, and pediatricians talking about it to expecting parents. Look out for this and get that genetic panel added to the New York State newborn screening. I think it's going to be a game changer. So I will be rewriting my bill because my first bill, I have to tweak it a little bit.
Okay.
I had other things added to it, and I think it was a bit too much.
Okay.
So I always kind of jump in with 4 legs, and I only have 2. So
well, you figure it out, and maybe that's part of your, your power is to just I'll figure it out as I go, right?
Yeah, I'm just like bop, 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 bop.
Yeah. So what about so now you're essentially running this foundation, which is a full-time business, right?
Yes.
So how is that? That's a big juggle in itself. What did you do? What did you do before? And how life often happens. Somehow you end up, and you were maybe a little prepared to run a business. I'm not specifically talking about, but how was that to all of a sudden?
Weird. I was a stay-at-home mom and super happy doing it, being it. I loved, little lunches and the breakfasts and all these great things. And then this. I suck at grammar. I'm very off the cuff in a sense. So I make a lot of mistakes, a lot of bumps. And I just felt that this was the right thing for me to do. And I had so many great, powerful people behind me, the moms that are working with me, the women that I have met, the doctors. And this has actually all come full circle with Stony Brook through women doctors that live in my neighborhood. The one actually that we're honoring
at the gala, which is, why don't you tell us about that too?
December 9th, so October 9th rather, we're honoring Dr. Guggen, and her niece had an AVM rupture, and she just happened to, doctor moved into my neighborhood, heard about me and Paige, we got connected together, so we've thrown around the word, we came to be through Kismet, which Kismet has so many meanings and so many things to me, my beach house and all these other things. That's partly why we called this one Kismet, because we have just come together from very different areas. But just the fact that she had a niece that had an AVM and was supposed to have died and miraculously woke up out of nowhere. So she was so affected, and she's like, I'm going to start to introduce you to some people. I'm going to help you do this, because you can't do it by yourself. You could, but you need to connect with the right people for funding and things like that. I'm with Stony Brook. I'm hoping that, Renaissance Technology will want to take this on as their project. They do so much funding and so much work. Or maybe there's a genetic company out there that says, hey, I'll be part of your study. I'll donate 1,000 panels for HHT. Let's do that. How cool would that be? I mean, we're with Stony Brook Hospital and University. It'd be great to get a candidate pool of students. Sure. Get right in there, get on campus. Let's advocate with them. They're so passionate about things, students, and learning. And it's a teaching school. So that would be great if somebody who's listening says, I'll donate these genetic panels, or I'll donate the scanning tool. Let's find the person.
How do they get in touch with you?
They can get in touch with me through Instagram, which is at Paige Keely Foundation. You can honestly just Google Paige Keely or Gina Keely, website, which is PaigeKeelyFoundation.com. And I really hope that people will come to our gala. It's a great event, and it's, fundraising, yes, but it's giving back to the people that are our donors, our sponsors, thanking them, telling them all of the work that we're doing with their donations. Like, I'm finally getting to do something and sharing it with them, and getting to meet and see all the doctors that we're working with.
If you had to give a word or two inspiration to moms who are struggling, with the loss of a child, what would be a little advice to them?
I've talked to so many. Be easy on yourself. Take it day by day. Let yourself cry when you need to. Tell people to shut up. Tell people to go home. Don't go into the black hole. Just pick yourself up. Not shake it off, but do something. Get out of bed, take a shower, go for a walk, look outside, look at a bird. Try something different. Do something that you never thought that you would do. I don't know, go skinny dip, go get a tattoo, do something crazy, go ride the cyclone like 5 times. Just do something to get yourself out of your own head. Even if just one thing. Try one thing a day, and baby steps.
I love it. That's a big thank you to our guest today, Gina Keely of the Paige Keely Foundation of St. James. She has a gala coming up October 9th. If you want to support the cause, we loved having you, Gina, and you're my first guest. And of course, I'll love to have you back too, because I think this needs to get out.
I love being here. Thank you.
And thanks. We'll see you next time on The Secrets of Powerful Women. Head to our website, powerfulwomenusa.com, for a newsletter. Bye, guys.